Happy New Year. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Godavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Charine. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarad Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalau Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshama. Krishna 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 Bhaktima. Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama. Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Bhaktima. Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama. Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya cha, Patitanang Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So, my dear Ram Vijay Prabhu, if you need to speak any message to me, please put it in the chat box and I will see it. So now I will begin my narration. And first I want to share my screen with you. Oh, can you allow me to share my screen? Because I want to show everybody what I am doing. Ah, very good. Very good. Can you all see that? Can you see what's on my screen? Okay, very good. So I've picked a very, very nice Krishna book story. And of course, we will do a quiz at the end. So pay attention, everybody. Now I have to adjust my screen because I'm going to do this. Okay. There we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The story of the Syamantaka jewel. Since he was a great devotee of the sun god, King Satyajit gradually entered into a very friendly relationship with him. The sun god was pleased with Satyajit and delivered to him an exceptional jewel known as Syamantaka. When Satyajit wore this jewel in a locket around his neck, Satyajit appeared exactly like an imitation sun god. Putting on this jewel, Satyajit entered the city of Dwaraka, and people thought that the sun god had actually come into the city to see Krishna. They knew that Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was sometimes visited by the demigods. So while Satyajit was visiting the city of Dwaraka, all the inhabitants except Krishna took Satyajit to be the sun god himself. Although King Satyajit was known to everyone, Satyajit could not be recognized because of the dazzling effulgence of the Syamantaka jewel. Mistaking Satyajit to be the sun god, some of the important citizens of Dwaraka immediately went to Krishna to inform him that the sun god had arrived to see him. And at that time, Krishna was playing chess. One of the important residents of Dwaraka spoke thus: "My dear Lord Narayan, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In your plenary portion as Narayan, or Vishnu, you have 4 hands with different symbols: the conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. You are actually the owner of everything, but in spite of your being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, you descended in Vrindavan to act as the child of Yashoda Mata, who sometimes used to tie you up with her ropes. And thus you are celebrated, therefore, by the name Damodar. The citizens of Dwaraka addressed Lord Krishna not only as Damodar, but also as Govinda, which indicates that Krishna is very affectionate to the cows and calves. And just to refer to their intimate connection with Krishna, they also addressed him as Yadunandana, because Krishna was born the son of Vasudeva in the Yadu dynasty. The citizens of Dwaraka concluded by addressing Krishna as the supreme master of the whole universe. They addressed Krishna in many different ways, proud of being citizens of Dwaraka who could see Krishna daily. When Satyajit was visiting the city of Dwaraka, the citizens felt great pride to think that although Krishna was living in Dwaraka like an ordinary human being, the demigods were coming to see Krishna. Thus, they informed Lord Krishna that the sun god, with his glaring bodily effulgence, was coming to see him. The citizens of Dwaraka confirmed that the sun god's coming into Dwaraka was not very wonderful, because people all over the universe who were searching after the Supreme Personality of Godhead knew that Krishna had appeared in the Yadu dynasty and was living in Dwaraka as one of the members of that family. Thus, the citizens expressed their joy on this occasion. Upon hearing the statements of the citizens, the all-pervasive personality of Godhead Krishna simply smiled. Being pleased with the citizens of Dwaraka, Krishna informed them that the person they described as the sun god was actually King Satyajit, who had come to visit Dwaraka city to show his opulence in the form of the valuable jewel obtained from the sun god. Satyajit, however, did not come to see Krishna. He was instead overwhelmed by the Syamantaka jewel. Satyajit installed the jewel in a temple to be worshipped by Brahmanas, and which he engaged for this purpose. This is an example of a less intelligent person worshipping a material thing. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Antavattu phalang tesham tadbhavat yalpa medasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mam api. Less intelligent persons, in order to get immediate results from their fruitive activities, worship the demigods created within this universe. The word materialist means one concerned with gratification of the senses within this material world. Satyajit installed the jewel for his own purposes of worship. And who would not worship that jewel? The Syamantaka jewel was so powerful that daily it produced a large quantity of gold. A quantity of gold is counted by a measurement called bar. According to Vedic formulas, 1 bar is about 21 pounds, and 1 mound equals about 82 pounds. The Syamantaka jewel was producing about 170 pounds of gold every day. And besides that, it is learned from Vedic literature that in whatever part of the world the Syamantaka jewel was worshipped, there was no possibility of famine. And wherever the Syamantaka jewel was present, there was no possibility of anything inauspicious, such as pestilence. Lord Krishna wanted to teach the world that the best of everything should be offered to the ruling chief of the country. King Ugrasena was the overlord of many dynasties and happened to be the grandfather of Krishna. So Krishna asked Satyajit to present the Syamantaka jewel to King Ugrasena. Krishna pleaded that the best should be offered to the king. But Satyajit, being a worshipper of the demigods, had become too materialistic, and instead of accepting the request of Krishna, thought it wiser to worship the Syamantaka jewel in order to get the 170 pounds of gold every day. Materialistic persons who can achieve such huge quantities of gold are not interested in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, therefore, to show special favor, Krishna takes away one's great accumulations of materialistic wealth and thus makes one a great devotee. But Satyajit refused to abide by the order of Krishna and did not deliver the jewel. So this story is broken out into 4 parts. So we just finished part 1. Now we go to part 2. After this incident, Satyajit's younger brother, in order to display the opulence of the family, took the Syamantaka jewel, put it on his neck, and rode on horseback into the forest, making a show of his material opulence. And while Satyajit's brother, who was known as Prasena, was moving here and there in the forest, a big lion attacked Prasena, killed both him and the horse on which he was riding, and took away the jewel to his cave. News of this was received by the gorilla king Jambavan, who then killed that lion in the cave and took away the jewel. Jambavan had been a great devotee of the Lord since the time of Lord Ramachandra. So Jambavan did not take the very valuable jewel as something very much needed. Jambavan gave it to his young son to play with as a toy. Meanwhile, in Dwaraka, when Satyajit's younger brother Prasena did not return from the forest with the jewel, Satyajit became very upset. Satyajit did not know that his brother had been killed by a lion, and that the lion had been killed by Jambavan. Satyajit thought instead that because Krishna wanted that jewel, which had not been delivered to him, Krishna might have therefore taken the jewel from Prasena by force and killed him. This idea grew into a rumor which Satyajit spread in every part of Dwaraka. The false rumor that Krishna had killed Prasena and taken away the jewel spread everywhere like wildfire. Krishna did not like to be defamed in that way, and therefore Krishna decided that he would go to the forest and find the Syamantaka jewel. Taking with him some of the important inhabitants of Dwaraka, Krishna went to search out Prasena, the brother of Satyajit, and found him dead, killed by the lion. At the same time, Krishna also found the lion killed by Jambavan, who is generally called Riksha. It was found that the lion had been killed by the hand of Riksha without the assistance of any weapon. Krishna and the citizens of Dwaraka then found in the forest a great tunnel said to be the path to Riksha's house. Krishna knew that the inhabitants of Dwaraka would be afraid to enter the tunnel, and therefore Krishna asked them to remain outside, and he himself entered the dark tunnel alone to find Riksha. After entering the tunnel, Krishna saw that the valuable jewel known as Syamantaka had been given to the son of Riksha as a toy. To take the jewel from the child, Krishna approached and stood before him. When the nurse taking care of Riksha's child saw Krishna standing before her, she was afraid, thinking Krishna might take away the valuable Syamantaka jewel. She cried out loudly in fear. Hearing the nurse's cries, Jambavan appeared on the scene in a very angry mood. Jambavan was actually a great devotee of Lord Krishna, but because Jambavan was angry, he could not recognize his master and thought Krishna to be an ordinary man. This brings to mind the statement of Bhagavad Gita, in which the Lord advises Arjuna, Trividhang narakasyedang dwaram nashanam atmanaha kamakrodastatal bhubhas tasmad etatrayang tyajit. To get free from anger, greed, and lust, in order to rise to the spiritual platform, lust, anger, and greed run parallel in the heart and check one's progress on the spiritual path. Not recognizing his master, Jambavan challenged Krishna to fight. There was then a great fight between Krishna and Jambavan, in which they fought like two opposing vultures. Whenever there is an eatable corpse, the vultures fight heartily over the prey. Krishna and Jambavan first of all fought with weapons, then with stones, then with big trees, then hand to hand, until at last they were hitting each other with their fists. Their blows like the striking of thunderbolts. Each expected victory over the other, but the fighting continued for 28 days, both in daytime and at night, without stopping. Although Jambavan was the strongest living entity of the time, practically all the joints of his bodily limbs became slackened, and his strength was reduced practically to nil. For Jambavan was struck constantly by the fists of Sri Krishna. Thus, feeling very tired, with perspiration all over his body, Jambavan was astonished. Who was this opponent who was fighting so hard with him? Jambavan was quite aware of his own superhuman bodily strength. But when he felt tired from being struck by Krishna, Jambavan could understand that Krishna was no one else but his worshipable Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This incident has special significance for devotees. For in the beginning, Jambavan could not understand Krishna because Jambavan's vision was obscured by material attachment. Jambavan was attached to his boy and to the greatly valuable Syamantaka jewel, which Jambavan did not want to spare for Krishna. In fact, when Krishna came there, Jambavan was angry, thinking that Krishna had come to take away the jewel. This is the material position. Although one is very strong in body, that cannot help one to understand Krishna. In a sporting attitude, Krishna wanted to engage in a mock fight with his devotee. As we have experienced from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has all the propensities and instincts of a human being. Sometimes in a sportive spirit, Krishna wishes to fight in order to make a show of bodily strength. And when Krishna so desires, Krishna selects one of his suitable devotees to give him that pleasure. Krishna desired this pleasure of mock fighting with Jambavan. Although Jambavan was a devotee by nature, Jambavan did not know that his opponent was Krishna, while Jambavan gave service to the Lord by his bodily strength. But as soon as Krishna was pleased by the fighting of Jambavan, immediately he understood that his opponent was none other than the Supreme Lord himself. The conclusion is that Jambavan could understand Krishna by his service, for Krishna is sometimes satisfied by fighting also. Therefore, Jambavan said to the Lord, "My dear Lord, I can now understand who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the source of everyone's strength, wealth, reputation, beauty, wisdom, and renunciation." This statement of Jambavan's is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yata, wherein the Supreme Lord is declared to be the source of everything. Jambavan identified Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality, Lord Vishnu. My dear Lord, you are the creator of the creators of the universal affairs. This statement is very instructive to the ordinary man who is amazed by the activities of a person with an exceptional brain. The ordinary man is surprised to see the inventions of a great scientist, but the statement of Jambavan confirms that although a scientist may be a creator of many wonderful things, Krishna is the creator of the scientist. Krishna is the creator of not only one scientist, but millions and trillions all over the universe. Jambavan further said, "Not only are you the creator of the creators, but you are also the creator of the material elements which the so-called creators manipulate." Scientists utilize the physical elements or laws of material nature to do something wonderful. But actually, such laws and elements are also the creation of Krishna. This is actual scientific understanding. Less intelligent men do not try to understand who created the brain of the scientist, for they are satisfied simply to see the wonderful creation or invention of the scientist. Jambavan continued, "My dear Lord, the time factor, which combines all the physical elements, is also your representative. You are the supreme time factor in which all creation takes place, is maintained, and is fully annihilated. And beyond the physical elements and the time factor, the persons who manipulate the ingredients and advantages of creation are part and parcel of you. The living entity is not, therefore, an independent creator. By studying all factors in the right perspective, one can see that you are the supreme controller and Lord of everything. My dear Lord, I can then therefore understand that you are the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whom I worship as Lord Ramachandra. My Lord Ramachandra wanted to construct a bridge over the ocean, and I personally saw how the ocean became agitated simply by my Lord's glancing over it. And when the whole ocean became agitated, the living entities like the whales, alligators, and Timingala fish all became perturbed. In this way, the ocean was forced to give way and allowed Ramachandra to cross to the island known as Lanka. After the construction of the bridge, a fire was set all over the kingdom of Ravana. During the fighting with Ravana, every part of his limbs was slashed to pieces by your sharp arrows, and his heads fell to the face of the earth. Now I can understand that you are none other than my Lord Ramachandra, for no one else has such immeasurable strength. No one else could defeat me in this way. Lord Krishna was satisfied by the prayers and statements of Jambavan, and to mitigate Jambavan's pain, Krishna began to stroke the lotus palm of his hand all over Jambavan's body. Thus Jambavan at once felt relief from the fatigue of the great fight. Lord Krishna then addressed him as King Jambavan, because he, and not the lion, was actually the king of the forest, having killed the lion with his bare hands without a weapon. Krishna informed Jambavan that he had come to ask for the Syamantaka jewel because ever since it had been stolen, Krishna's name had been defamed by the less intelligent. Krishna plainly informed Jambavan that he had come there to ask for the jewel in order to be free from this defamation. Jambavan understood the whole situation, and to satisfy the Lord, Jambavan immediately delivered not only the Syamantaka jewel, but also his daughter Jambavati, who was of marriageable age, and presented her to Lord Krishna. Part 3. The episode of Jambavati's marriage with Lord Krishna and the delivery of the jewel known as Syamantaka was finished within the mountain cave. Although the fighting between Krishna and Jambavan went on for 28 days, the inhabitants of Dwaraka waited outside the tunnel for only 12 days, and after that they decided that something undesirable must have happened. They could not understand for certain what had actually happened, and being very sorry and tired, they returned to the city of Dwaraka. All the members of the family, namely Krishna's mother Devaki, Krishna's father Vasudeva, and Krishna's chief wife Rukmini, along with all other friends, relatives, and residents of the palace, were very sorry when the citizens returned home without Krishna. Because of their natural affection for Krishna, they began to call Satyajit ill names, for it was Satyajit who was the cause of Krishna's disappearance. They went to worship the goddess Chandrabhaga, praying for the return of Krishna. The goddess was satisfied by the prayers of the citizens of Dwaraka and immediately offered them her benediction. Simultaneously, Krishna appeared on the scene, accompanied by his new wife, Jambavati, and all the inhabitants of Dwaraka and relatives of Krishna became joyful. The inhabitants of Dwaraka were as joyful as someone receiving a dead relative back from the dead. They had concluded that Krishna had been put into great difficulties due to the fighting. Therefore, they had become almost hopeless of Krishna's return. But when they saw that Krishna had actually returned, and not alone, but with a new wife, Jambavati, they immediately performed a ceremony of celebration. King Ugrasena then called for a meeting of all important kings and chiefs. Ugrasena also invited Satyajit, and before the whole assembly, Krishna explained the incident of the recovery of the jewel from Jambavan. Krishna wanted to return the valuable jewel to King Satyajit. Satyajit, however, was ashamed because he had unnecessarily defamed Krishna. Satyajit accepted the jewel in his hand, but Satyajit remained silent, bending his head downwards. And without saying anything in the assembly of the kings and chiefs, Satyajit returned home with the jewel. Then Satyajit thought about how he could clear himself of the abominable act he had performed by defaming Krishna. Satyajit was conscious that he had offended Krishna very grievously, and that he had to find a remedial measure so that Krishna would again be pleased with him. King Satyajit was eager to get relief from the anxiety he had foolishly created due to being attracted by a material thing, specifically the Syamantaka jewel. Truly afflicted by the offense he had committed against Krishna, Satyajit sincerely wanted to rectify it. So from within, Krishna gave Satyajit good intelligence, and Satyajit decided to hand over to Krishna both the jewel and his beautiful daughter Satyabhama. There was no alternative for mitigating the situation, and therefore Satyajit arranged the marriage ceremony of Krishna and his daughter. Satyajit gave in charity both the jewel and his daughter to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Satyabhama was so beautiful and qualified that Satyajit, in spite of being asked for her hand by many princes, was waiting to find a suitable son-in-law. And by the grace of Krishna, Satyajit decided to hand his daughter over to Krishna. Lord Krishna, being very pleased with Satyajit, informed him that Krishna did not have any need of the Syamantaka jewel. It is better to let it remain in the temple as you have kept it, for every one of us will then derive benefit from the jewel. Because of the jewel's presence in the city of Dwaraka, there will be no more famines or disturbances created by pestilence or excessive heat and cold. So, my dear Prabhu, do we have time for the last part, or should we stop here, my dear friend? Keep going? Okay, then we'll do part 4. Thank you for your mercy. At this point, I want to give a blessing to all the devotees of ISKCON RoundRock for joining this program. There's no greater pleasure for me in life than preaching. And of all the preaching I do, when I get to do a class on Krishna book, I become too ecstatic. So I cannot repay you for the wonderful gift you have given me. So I simply, as you see behind me, Rukmini Dwarkadish, who are my deities here in Los Angeles. And this is their evening pajama outfit, one of theirs, because it's now nighttime. So I ask Rukmini and Dwarkadish to please bless all of you that you achieve love of Godhead in this lifetime. Whoops, something happened. Sorry about that. All right, so we'll continue now with the final part, part 4. Later, when Krishna and Balaram were in Hastinapur, away from the city of Dwaraka, there was a conspiracy to take the Syamantaka jewel away from Satyajit. The chief conspirator was Shatadhanva, who was among those who had wanted to marry Satyabhama, Satyajit's beautiful daughter. Satyajit had promised that he would give his beautiful daughter in charity to various candidates. But later the decision was changed, and Satyabhama was given to Krishna along with the Syamantaka jewel. Satyajit had no desire to give the jewel away with his daughter, and Krishna, knowing his mentality, accepted his daughter but returned the jewel. And after getting back the jewel from Krishna, Satyajit was satisfied and kept it with him always. But in the absence of Krishna and Balaram, there was a conspiracy by many men, including even Akrura and Kritavarma, who were devotees of Lord Krishna, to take away the jewel from Satyajit. Akrura and Kritavarma joined the conspiracy because they wanted the jewel for Krishna. They knew that Krishna wanted the jewel and that Satyajit had not delivered it properly. Others joined the conspiracy because they were disappointed in not having the hand of Satyabhama. Some of them incited Shatadhanva to kill Satyajit and take away the jewel. Being inspired by all the members of the conspiracy, Shatadhanva one night entered the house of Satyajit and killed him while he was sleeping. Shatadhanva was a sinful man of abominable character, and although due to his sinful activities, he was not to live for many days, Shatadhanva decided to kill Satyajit while Satyajit was sleeping at home. When Shatadhanva entered the house to kill Satyajit, all the women there cried very loudly. But in spite of their great protests, Shatadhanva mercilessly butchered Satyajit without hesitation, exactly as a butcher kills an animal in the slaughterhouse. Since Krishna was absent from home, Krishna's wife Satyabhama was present on the night Satyajit was murdered, and she began to cry, "Oh, my dear father, my dear father, how mercilessly you have been killed." The dead body of Satyajit was not immediately removed for cremation because Satyabhama wanted to go to Krishna in Hastinapur. Therefore, the body was preserved in a tank of oil so that Krishna could come back and see the dead body of Satyajit and take real action against Shatadhanva. Satyabhama immediately started for Hastinapur to inform Krishna about the ghastly death of her father. When Krishna was informed by Satyabhama of the murder of his father-in-law, Krishna began to lament like an ordinary man. Krishna's great sorrow is again a strange thing. Lord Krishna has nothing to do with action and reaction. But because Krishna was playing the part of a human being, Krishna expressed his full sympathy for the bereavement of Satyabhama, and Krishna's eyes filled with tears when he heard about the death of his father-in-law. Krishna thus began to lament, "Oh, what unhappy incidents have taken place." Then Krishna and Balaram, along with Satyabhama, immediately returned to Dwaraka and began to make plans to kill Shatadhanva and take away the jewel. Although he was a great outlaw in the city, Shatadhanva was still very much afraid of Krishna's power. And thus, when Krishna arrived Shatadhanva became most afraid. Understanding Krishna's plan to kill him, Shatadhanva immediately went to take shelter of Kritavarma. But Kritavarma said, "Oh, I shall never be able to offend Lord Krishna and Balaram, for they are not ordinary persons. They are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can be saved from death if one has offended Balaram and Krishna? No one can be saved from their wrath." Kritavarma further said that Kamsa, although most powerful and assisted by many demons, could not be saved from Krishna's wrath. And what to speak of Jarasandha, who had been defeated by Krishna 17 times, and each time had to return from the fighting in disappointment. When Shatadhanva was refused help by Kritavarma, he then went to Akrura and implored him to help. But Akrura also replied, "Balaram and Krishna are themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and anyone who knows their unlimited strength would never dare offend them or fight with them. Krishna and Balaram are so powerful that simply by willing, they create, maintain, and dissolve the whole cosmic manifestation. Unfortunately, persons bewildered by the illusory energy cannot understand the strength of Krishna, although the whole cosmic manifestation is fully under Krishna's control." Akrura cited as an example that Krishna, even at the age of 7 years, had lifted Govardhan Hill and had continued to hold up the mountain for 7 days, exactly as a child carries a small umbrella. Akrura plainly informed Shatadhanva that he would always offer his most respectful obeisances to Krishna, the supersoul of everything created and the original cause of all causes. So when Akrura also refused to give him shelter, Shatadhanva decided to deliver the Syamantaka jewel into the hands of Akrura. Then, riding on a horse which could run at great speed and up to 400 miles at a stretch, Shatadhanva fled the city of Dwaraka. When Krishna and Balaram were informed of the flight of Shatadhanva, they mounted their chariot, its flag marked by a picture of Garuda, and followed immediately. Krishna was particularly angry with Shatadhanva and wanted to kill him because Shatadhanva had killed Satyajit, a superior personality. Satyajit happened to be the father-in-law of Krishna, and it is the injunction of the Shastras that one who is Guru Druha, or who has rebelled against a superior person, must be punished in proportion to the severity of the offense. Because Shatadhanva had killed his father-in-law, Krishna was determined to kill Shatadhanva by any means. Shatadhanva's horse became exhausted and died near a garden house in Mithila. Unable to take help of the horse, Shatadhanva began to run with great speed. In order to be fair to Shatadhanva, Krishna and Balaram also left their chariot and began to follow Shatadhanva on foot. While Shatadhanva and Krishna were running, Krishna took his disc and cut off Shatadhanva's head. After Shatadhanva was killed, Krishna searched through his clothing for the Syamantaka jewel, but Krishna could not find it. Krishna then returned to Balaram and said, We have killed this person uselessly, for the jewel is not to be found on his body. Oh, the jewel might have been kept in the custody of another man in Dwaraka. So you better return and search it out. Sri Balaram expressed his desire to remain in Mithila city for some days because Balaram enjoyed an intimate friendship with the king. Therefore, Krishna returned to Dwaraka and Balaram entered the city of Mithila. After killing Shatadhanva, Krishna returned to Dwaraka, and in order to please his wife Satyabhama, Krishna informed her of the death of Shatadhanva, the killer of her father. But Krishna also informed Satyabhama that the jewel had not been found in his possession. Then, according to religious principles, Krishna, along with Satyabhama, performed ceremonies in honor of his departed father-in-law. In those ceremonies, all the friends and relatives of the family joined together. Akrura and Kritavarma were prominent members in the conspiracy to kill Satyajit, having incited Shatadhanva to kill Satyajit. So when they heard of the death of Shatadhanva at Krishna's hand, and when they also heard that Krishna had returned to Dwaraka, they both immediately left the city. The citizens of Dwaraka felt themselves threatened with pestilence and natural disturbances due to the absence of Akrura from the city. This was a kind of superstition, because while Lord Krishna was present there could not be any pestilence, famine, or natural disturbances. But in the absence of Akrura, there were apparently some disturbances in Dwaraka. People were under the impression that wherever Akrura or his father stayed, there would be no natural disturbances such as famine or drought. As soon as there was some disturbance in Dwaraka, people considered the cause to be the absence of an auspicious personality in the city. Thus, there was a rumor that because of the absence of Akrura, inauspicious things were happening. So after the departure of Akrura, some of the elderly residents of the city also began to perceive inauspicious signs due to the absence of the Syamantaka jewel. When Lord Sri Krishna heard these rumors spread by the people, Krishna decided to summon Akrura from the kingdom of Kashi. Akrura was Krishna's uncle. Therefore, when Akrura came back to Dwaraka, Lord Krishna first of all gave Akrura a welcome befitting a superior person. Krishna is the super soul in everyone and knows everything going on in everyone's heart. Krishna knew everything that had happened in connection with Akrura's conspiracy with Shatadhanva. Therefore, Krishna smilingly began to address Akrura, addressing him as the chief among munificent men. Krishna said, "Oh, my dear uncle, it is already known to me that the Syamantaka jewel was left by Shatadhanva with you. Presently, there is no direct claimant of the Syamantaka jewel, for King Satyajit has no male issue. His daughter Satyabhama is also not very eager for this jewel, yet her expected son, as the grandson of Satyajit, would, after performing the regulative principles of inheritance, would be the legal claimant of the jewel. This jewel is so powerful, no ordinary man is able to keep it. I know that you are very pious in activities, so there is no objection to the jewel's being kept with you. However, there is one difficulty, and that is my elder brother, Sri Balaram, does not believe my version that the jewel is with you. I therefore request you, O large-hearted one, to show me the jewel just once before my other relatives, so that they may all be pacified and reject various kinds of rumors. You cannot deny that the jewel is with you, because we can understand that you have enhanced your opulence and are performing sacrifices on an altar made of solid gold. The properties of the jewel were known. Wherever the jewel remained, it would produce for the keeper more than 2 mounds of pure gold daily. Akrura was getting gold in that proportion and distributing it profusely at sacrificial performances. Lord Krishna cited Akrura's lavishly splendid gold as positive evidence of his possessing the Syamantaka jewel. When Lord Krishna, in friendly terms and sweet language, impressed Akrura about the real facts, and Akrura understood that nothing can be concealed from the knowledge of Sri Krishna, Akrura brought out the valuable jewel, covered by cloth, but shining like the sun, and presented it before Krishna. Lord Krishna took the Syamantaka jewel in his hand and showed it to all his relatives and friends, and then returned the jewel to Akrura in their presence, so that they would know that the jewel was actually being kept by Akrura in Dwaraka city. So now you're about to get a benediction because you stayed and heard the whole story. You're going to get a benediction. Here it is. This story of the Syamantaka jewel is very significant. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that anyone who hears the story of the Syamantaka jewel, or describes it, or simply remembers it, will be free from all kinds of defamation and the reactions of all impious activities, and thus will attain the highest perfectional condition of peace. So that is your New Year's blessing. Now I will sing Nrsimha prayers, and then we'll do questions and answers. And like last time, you will answer the questions in the chat box. And the first person to answer correctly will get... Can you hear that? All right. Let's do the prayers to Lord Nrsimha to usher in the new year. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashipura Vakshaha Hilatankana Kalaye Ito Nrsimha Padato Nrsimha Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsimha Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha Nrsimham Madim Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipo Tanu Bringam Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadish, Jaya Jagadish, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All blessings on ISKCON of Round Rock in 2021. May Krishna bless you, protect you, and maintain you. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacacharya Astotra Satta Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavandi Ki Jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se koho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Syama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Jamuna Devi Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Shamaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai, ISKCON of Round Rock Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Doing this song so much.
It's not the new words, it's the same thing.
Oh, it's the same? Well, then I'll stop the share and start all over. Okay, let's try a different share screen. Okay, there it is. Now you got the new words, right? Okay. This song I'm dedicating to all of you because you're such wonderful devotees. Where is it? Krishna 108 on your dial. Smooth Krishna jazz. Yeah. You can all dance for Krishna. This is perfect New Year's Eve music. All right, everybody. If you ever want that higher taste, follow my cue, for there is no time to waste. Ease your stress with Krishna consciousness. Now it starts out with your japa beads in hand, and in your heart you'll come to understand it's the best Krishna consciousness. Now it's better than karma, jnana or yoga. No satiation like tyaga and boga. It's not just for Hindus, Muslims, Christians or Jews. Why atheists and Buddhists can all become the purest. No other path that is surest. Won't you get hip to this timely tip? When you make that transcendental trip, it's the crest Krishna consciousness. Now we all chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Here we go. Won't you get hip to this timely tip, 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 when you make that transcendental trip. Ever fresh Krishna consciousness. Make your nest Krishna consciousness. Leave the rest. Take to Krishna consciousness. Jai Hari Bol. Okay, one more song. Close this out here. Let me find one more ecstatic song. What do I have? Well, this song always makes me happy. Just got to get the words. Hold on. Give me a second here. I'm figuring this out. And, yes. This song always makes me happy. And because of COVID, it's very important that somehow or other we remain happy in Krishna consciousness. If I just find the, oh, here it is. Okay. Whoa, that's not going to work. Okay. All right. Share screen. There it is. Okay. So this is the final song for tonight. So I'm saying good night to all of you now. May Krishna bless you, protect you, and maintain you. And it would be good if I'm worthy. I could do these once a month for you. No problem. I'm available to you once a month if you so deem me worthy. So this final song, blessings on all of the devotees of ISKCON RoundRock. May you achieve love of Godhead in 2021. Here we go. I needed the shelter from Maya's charms, and there you were. Someone to save me from my ups and downs, and there you were. With sweet love and devotion, deeply touching, some pure emotion, I want to stop and thank you, Krishna. I want to stop, Hari Bol. How sweet it is to chant your name, Hari, Hari Bol. How sweet it is to chant your name. Now here's my story. I close my eyes at night, wondering where I'd be without you in my life. Everything I did was just a bore. Everywhere I went was like deja vu before. But you brighten up all my days with sound assurance and in so many ways. I gotta stop and thank you, Krishna. I got to stop. Thank you, Krishna. How sweet it is to chant your name. Hari, Hari, Hari Bol. How sweet it is to chant your name. Let's all chant together. Come on. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But you're better to me than I am to yourself. So now for me there's simply nobody else. I gotta stop and thank you, Krishna. I got to stop. Thank you, Krishna and Prabhupada. How sweet it is to chant your name. Hari, Hari Bol. How sweet it is to chant your name. Here we go. Chant with me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. How sweet it is to chant your name. Okay, boys and girls, thank you very much. Let's stop the screens here. May Krishna bless you, protect you, maintain you, and whenever you want, just let me know, and I will be at your service. Thank you very much. Happy New Year. Blessings on all of you. Hari Hari Bol. Jai. Hare Krishna. All right. Hari Bol. Happy New Year, everybody. Now some of the screens are turning on at the end when I'm leaving. You people are... Anyway, everybody does this. Panama does this. Every I don't know what it is. You guys are like shy or something. Hari Bol. All right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Prabhuji.
I've given you, I don't have any more energy. I'm exhausted. All right. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Jai.
So much once again to Nirantara Prabhu for just transcending us to another platform that we had not seen all year long, and we have how deeply missed his association this year in person. And we really hope this pandemic gets over very, very quickly, so all of us can be together with Nirantara Prabhu once again in not too distant future.
Yes.
I still remember Prabhu's trip the year before when we were at the 620 Center and we had all the bands put together. And Prabhu would pick up any instrument, he would just start playing. And we really